Hey everybody, welcome back to Tenza Motorsports. Super fun project today. Going to be installing these Sparco seats into my wife's race car. These are the Pro 2000 seats. They are a fixed back, I believe it's a 34-inch waist on it, and we're just super happy to put these in the car. I've got a quick story about these in just a moment. Before we get into that, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, like if you enjoy this type of content. Also make sure to check us out on Instagram, Tenza_Motorsports, who do giveaways, so you definitely want to be following us on there. The seats in my race car are a bride seat or brid, whichever you prefer. Those were not my first choice. I just knew I wanted red seats. Well, back, this would have been about 6 years ago, Sparco had a seat called a Street Fighter, and it had these little lumbar side cushions on them. I went to go order them in red, and I called the guy up and was talking to him about them and was like, yeah, okay, yeah, let's do it. And then he's like, okay, perfect, I'll order them. He went to go order them, and he called me back like a day later and was like, hey, they just discontinued red seats like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So at the time, the Street Fighters were around $650 a piece, and these brids were like $950, $1,000 a piece. So it was a huge jump. He helped me out, and yeah, it ended up being really good. One thing that I always do if you're doing a track car like this is you want to have fixed back seats. Something about a seat that is able to recline, the seat, it constantly flexes. The car will actually feel faster after we put these in. We just recently did a video doing the suspension on this car, and I went and drove it, and I wanted to do it with those seats in it because I knew that the entire car would change the way it feels once I put these in it. And that's why I did that video. I actually recorded that earlier today. I made sure to get that video done before you put the seats in because this completely changes the way the car feels. Buy once, cry once when it comes to this kind of stuff. I have talked about this in previous videos as well. I did have a really bad experience where I bought some fake seats, some no-name ones, and they wore out really quickly before I bought my actual ones. And they literally just like wore out, like the fabric right here as you would get in and out of the car. The stitching was just like, they were terrible. We did unfortunately unbox these already, as you can see, for a couple reasons. One, when you're ordering this kind of stuff, you want to make sure that you unbox it fairly quickly so that, you know, if there's any shipping damage, you get that taken care of. When I get these little products in, and you know, if I got a $100 item and it was damaged, it's not a really big deal. We can figure it out, the company can figure it out. But when you're spending almost $1,000 a piece for seats, you want to get them out of the box. The other reason why we pulled them out was because this is my wife's car. She wanted to do some customization to it. So she wanted cheetah print. She loves cheetah print. This goes along with her center console, her toggle switch panel. She likes cheetah print, so we did this really shiny, sparkly cheetah print, and it actually changes color depending on how the light's hitting it. It's actually really cool. And then put Sparco on the back there just to make sure it's a little bit different than everybody else's seat. You know, I set it apart a little bit. The other reason is when she got the seats in, she kind of gave me crap because she likes the backs of my seats. My seats actually have sparkle in them, and I did not order them like that. These seats were already on their way from Japan when we went through that whole Sparco's not doing red seats anymore, and so these were just the ones that were coming over. So when she saw that hers were just black, she definitely wanted to do something a little bit different. So we just got that done this morning. We do have our mounts. So I just got done painting these. They were just bare metal, and so I primed them and did a single stage on them. And here is the seat mount. So you got the mount that goes to the floor, and then the mount that goes from the floor mount to the actual seats itself. This will allow you to tilt it. And yeah, there's lots of adjustments here. You can go forward, back, left, and right. So we want to make sure that the seat's exactly how she wants it. So I'm not going to get a ton of the driver's seat recorded on camera because between the house and the yard and family emergencies and family surgeries and the holidays that were just up recently, we've been really busy. So she's here for just a moment. So I'm gonna get this driver's seat out, and then we're gonna put her seat in, and then I will walk through the passenger seat in a little bit more detail. They really aren't that difficult to put in. The hardest part about this is making sure that you're sitting exactly where you wanna be, because when you bolt it down, it's a huge pain in the butt to adjust it again. It's not like you can just pull the lever and slide it forward or back. No, these are solid mounted. They're designed for her, they're designed for me. It is a little bit nice because she can use my car as reference. We're a half an inch apart from each other. My wife is actually pretty tall, and so it's kind of nice because she fits in my car and I'm gonna be able to fit in hers. A lot of talking, I'm sorry, there's tons of information. I'm gonna get this one installed, and then when we go to the passenger one, I'll do a little bit more in detail. So as you can see, the driver's seat is now in. It's exactly where she wants it to be. Now the passenger seat, I'm just gonna set up the same as my race car. I'll make it plenty big enough for anybody who's, you know, 6'6", 6'7", kind of range. I don't think I've ever had anybody that tall ride my car, but if we do, they can be plenty comfortable in the passenger seat. So it's gonna sit back probably about this far. Maybe a little bit further, depending on what I decide to do. 16 millimeter will remove these two nuts up front, and there'll be 2 bolts in the back. Once we get the seat out, we'll go from there. From here, we're gonna test fit this bracket, make sure that this mount fits properly. The next thing I'll be doing is actually getting the mounts, the side ones, mounted to the seat. Once we get it mounted where we want it to, we'll then bring the seat in here and I'll sit on it. The downside of this is if you slide the seat forward and backwards a lot, you can actually scratch, well, both pieces of metal, and a bunch of scratches don't look good. So as best as you can, get the seat kind of roughly where you think you want it, sit down, and very carefully stand back up to slide it. It's a bit of a pain, but you only have to do it a few times, and if you get it, you know, the first couple times, if you roughly know where it needs to be, I'm gonna go measure my race car. That way I kind of get an idea of how far back it needs to be. I might not even sit in this side because this is much less important as the driver's side, you know, making sure you're the right distance from the steering wheel and whatnot. The sequence goes this on the floor, don't bolt it down, just slide it on the floor. Then put the side mounts on the seat, come and make sure this is where it needs to be. Slip a couple bolts through to lock it in place, kind of mark where it is. Then pull it out, put it all together, then put the seat with everything on it into the car, and then bolt it down. So that's what we're gonna be doing. I'm gonna be putting the side mounts on the seat and then bringing it into the car. Now there's a few things that are a little bit difficult. So that back bolt, the farthest away from you, if you notice I was getting in and out of the car a little bit, it is such a pain. There's just not enough room here to kneel and put your torso and your arm through. So you're either putting your head back there to be able to see it, or your arm, one of the others. You can't, you're just kind of feeling back there, and it's just a pain. The other thing is sometimes that bolt, you need to slide that bolt into the frame first before you get it in there. So oftentimes the little leg that sits at the bottom, sometimes the platform above it will sit like this, and you can't slip the bolt in there. So you take I use a crescent wrench and I'll bend it down, put the bolt in, and then bend it back up. It's not ideal, but when they make the bolts that long, it's not really a ton you can do. So I think it looks absolutely fantastic. Super excited to get it driven. That'll be done in another video. The other thing we'll be doing in another video is installing the harnesses. So we haven't bought them yet, but we're trying to figure out whether to do a 5 or 6 point. I think we're gonna try to do, I think the ones she wants are a 5, just based on like the color and the design and everything like that. I will not be removing these seats to put in the harnesses. You don't have to do that. You can get at the mounting points. In fact, if anything, you want to be drilling from the bottom up so you're not hitting fuel lines. If you drill down, you have no idea what's underneath there. We'll be marking it, drilling up, and hopefully we do not have to take the seats out to do that, because they're just a pain in the butt. It's not that you can't, it's just that back bolt kills me every single time I do these seats. It drives me nuts. So I really appreciate everybody so much for watching. If you have comments or questions down in the comment section below, I will have the link to all these parts here down in the description below. When it comes to safety equipment and items like this, it's a buy once, cry once. Just spend the extra money. Don't go cheap on these. You'll end up buying them 3 or 4 times over for the lifespan of one of these. And oftentimes the cheaper ones aren't FIA approved. I really appreciate everybody so much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below, and we'll see you in the next video.
Bam!